Hey, good morning, folks. We are going to continue working on artwork here for the Spelljammer Combat and Exploration supplement that we've been developing here online for the past year. So give me a second here to check my signal. We'll go through my intro spiel and then we'll get to work here for 100 minutes or so. So hold on real quick. Checking signal, making sure I'm live equals button press, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. We're there. Clicking a couple buttons here, we'll get into my intro spiel. Hey, Cat Up. Hey, it's good to see you, my guy. I'm going to go through my intro spiel here real quick, and then we'll get some artwork going. So, hey, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games, I illustrate them, and then I publish them online. I've been focusing my attention on Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition here for the past 5 years. And so there are a slew of links in the description down below to books that I've already published using DMsGuild.com. They're all free previews, so you can look through all my stuff cover to cover if you want, decide for yourself if you like the stuff. If you're here for artwork, there's probably about 150 illustrations just in the books that are linked down below. If you're here for D&D 5e content, the stuff that I create is meant for both Dungeon Masters as well as players, both sides of the screen. And I run campaigns from level 1 to 20 in about 200 to 250-ish hours. So I typically play test at various tiers of play to make sure that they work, often starting at the back end and the higher level tiers, and then working forward to make sure the stuff also works at lower levels where most people spend their time. So if you think that stuff is cool as well, or if you're here for the content, you think the books are neat, feel free to make a purchase to support further shenanigans. Otherwise, you can follow me here on Twitter at Phil Kearney. I always publish every time I go live, no matter what's going on. If I'm going to be live, I will publish it here on Twitter, so you can always find out there. Otherwise, like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to help me grow the channel. God's willing, I'd get to 500 subscribers by the end of the year. That would take a Herculean effort, but it's certainly appreciated, anyone that's involved. I'm up in subscribers again yet today, so thanks a lot, folks, for cluing in with me. As you can see here, this is the cover that we created for this supplement that we're building. If we're on episode 238 right now, so you can kick back in the Wayback Machine of the playlist we have for Spelljammer back to episode 15 to see us creating this book cover. But so I create role-playing games, I illustrate them, and then I publish them online. If I have an idea, I'll play test it. If it works, then we'll write it up, we'll send it off to an editor. The editor will build out make Word smell good, and then send it back to me. I then break it down into the page. I use Microsoft Word for my layouts program, and then once everything is sitting on the page pretty, we can, like, say, go to combat here and then go into Photoshop. We'll upload this. We'll extract this as a PDF document. We'll then upload it into Photoshop, and then we will start just illustrating on the page. So that's what we're going to continue doing today. Bam, there you go. Get our references stuff out of the way, and that's how the page is pretty much looking. You can see over here, combat page, and now here's where we're at, work in progress. You can notice down here, this is the symbol that we use for a ballista on a ship. As one of the weapons, like ballistas and harpoon flingers and various weapons of destruction that have been created by Wizards of the Coast in the game. But you'll notice that this icon here is at the chapter header of the combat, and you can see that there's a navigation rail on the bottom of the document. So if you're looking at the document here, it was on the intro page, so none of these things are highlighted, but in the future, once this is actually created into a PDF, if you were to click on the combat icon, it would then highlight this icon. This is faded just because it's a watermark image that lays in the background of the entire document, but it'll have this same level of contrast and opacity once it's actually in a PDF. But in that PDF, when you click on any of these icons, it'll take you to the front end of the chapter here. So we have a corresponding icon as our chapter art. Not every chapter has artwork, but they all have the icon that goes along with it at the top rail, so you can always figure out where you're at. And of course, this hamburger or stack goes to the table of contents at the beginning of the document. So we build out, we do that with different pieces that we've done in the past. But I think maybe look back about 15, 20 episodes ago, and you'll see us building out this rail here for the table of contents, ships and equipment, combat, spell casting, exploration, hazards, creature menagerie, random system generator, and then at the last 20 pages of the book is a conversion guide for the Light as Araxis adventure that Wizards of the Coast published. We take all the rules and mechanics that we've built inside of this document, and we apply them to Light as Araxis. So if you want to see how these mechanics actually work inside of a game, you can go and check out the Light as Araxis and see what alterations we made to the game to be able to utilize all the rules and concepts that we have inside of this book. So the general tagline here is rules for rulings, because Spelljammer has so little crunch to it. It kind of leaves it has very much a, this is your world, do whatever you want, but maybe a lot of people don't have enough experience dealing with Spelljammer to just kind of grok what it is that they can do with the thing. So being able to provide some just basic physics for space using 5e mechanics about momentum, orbital distancing, atmospheric interference, visibility with different amounts of atmosphere, towing capacity, for God's sake, towing capacity for ships is something that isn't even talked about in the book. So they have like this very basic stat block for what a ship is, as though they don't really expect you to do anything with it. So we dive deep into those type of mechanics. But that's enough pontification. Anyone that's already indoctrinated knows all this. If you're new to the mix, thanks for being here. There's 200 some odd episodes prior to this that you can check out that dig through it. And once this thing publishes on the DMs Guild, it'll also have an extensive free preview. And we'll do a director's cut walkthrough of the document as we go. So, boy, I've just rambled on here. So let me get to work. We're working on the lighting currently for the Spiderling fighter craft that we created. It's more of like a gunboat or a cruiser than anything. But it's if we pull up our reference again here. This is what we're illustrating off of. These are 5-foot squares. So this is counting the legs we do. It's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. It's a 40 by 40 craft, so it's 40 feet in size. Sits inside of a 50-foot square. This is a night spider. It doesn't have its grid with it, but this is a 200-foot square. 50, 100, 150, 200. So one of these little spiderling craft can fit inside of, or even you can literally park inside of this atom. You can put 2 of them inside that atom if you wanted to. But they make for really fun fighter craft to kick around with larger vessels as like minions. If you're dealing ship combat, these crafts can't take a lot of hits at all. And in the what's going on with you, buddy? My smudge is too high. There. And when you check out the equipment section of the book, like these things cost like a couple thousand gold to build, and the helm that pilots them is only 500 compared to the 5,000 that you would spend for a normal quote unquote major spelljamming helm. But it also can't carry more than it can't move more than 50 feet worth of ship, where the major helms can move up to 500 feet worth of ship. So it's a matter, again, it's always a matter of scale. But hey, Ked, you're saying words. Imagine if once we made half this stuff, Spelljammer would have been like a perfect storm. Yeah, it really would have been. Don't run 5e, and then still probably use this your book for like hints, the ideas, world generation, everything. Wow, thank you so much. That's really kind, Ked. I think if anything, just the mechanical language about here. I'll crack this open real quick. Just the mechanical language about integrating and utilizing scale. Like just being able to transition from a 500-foot to a 50-foot to a 5-foot scale mapping scenario. There's There's a lot of specific rules here about ship interactions, overlapping, entering each other's space, kind of like with like tiny-sized creatures versus medium-sized creatures. There's a lot of similar interaction that goes on with that, considering the difference in scale between like a 50-foot flitter ship versus a 200-foot Star Moth or a 250-foot hammerhead ship, right? But being able to have a fluid system that moves you from the 500-foot scale to the 50-foot scale to the 5-foot scale, to have these transitions of different scales of battle. Like this is the fortress in Light of Xeraxis, and it's a 1-mile asteroid. So we could scale out again from that 500-foot scale, so each square is a mile, or Spelljammer goes up to 10,000 miles per round, which means that you can effectively have ships flying at 1,000 miles per square during a round of combat. But 1,000 miles, if you have lasers in your game, that makes sense. You can do that. But ballistas and catapults, they don't have a range more than a few hundred feet as listed in the DMG. So with the Void zero gravity, you can extend that to a mile. But if you're trying to shoot something with a bolt over a mile away, it's going to take more than a round to get there. So as long as your target is aware of the threat, you can never hit them. You can only sneak attack them from over a mile away to hit them, and then you can close distance while you do that. So you're basically either going to lose surprise by hitting them with a weapon, or you're going to sneak up close enough so you can get within a mile so you can have actual weapons hitting them during the same round of combat. Which is why Spelljammer is such a unique entity. Here, I'll show you this one as well, because maps and scales. Oh, I'm missing components because this is a teardown dock. Never mind. But yeah, we've got like maybe 15, 20 similar diagrams like this that talk about like how like opportunity attacks, pacing your target, disengage actions, dash actions, all those things that exist in 5e mechanics exist with these ships at almost infinite scale. But there has to be rules about how to do that. And once you understand the rules, the DM can now make rulings about how things interact. We have a lot of resolution inside of here about like how small do you need, like how big can you be and still be seen by the eye at a certain range. You know, like 500 miles from here, even in the void, you might not be seeing a spaceship coming at you. But like at 1 mile or less, most likely, if you have a lookout, they're going to see a ship that's, you know, at least, you know, anywhere from 50 to 500 feet flying through the void. You're probably going to see them at least a mile, maybe 10 miles away. And that's just using normal visibility rules that I did a lot of research in Google with. And typically, Earth curvature prevents you from seeing something more than 3 miles away just because of the way the Earth bends. The height of a boat just slowly drops below the horizon line as you go. But when you have a flat void of infinite space, 10 miles is pretty reasonable. It's like there's something there, and then you can pull out your telescope and zoom it in 10 times distance. So instead of it seeming like it's a mile away, it's only 500 feet away, which is about 2 football fields, which makes seem like minor details about the ship pretty easy. And then, like with a perception check, you can attempt to discern more specific details, or you can, you know, get closer and lower the DC of noticing these details, etc., etc. So there's like a sun you can see millions of miles away. Or even billions of miles away. It's a sun. It's a giant ball of light. Pretty easy to pick up on. But the planets that are rotating it, you might need to be, you know, within 100 million miles to be able to see that, which is a day of travel in D&D. D&D also has really cool things that don't exist inside of normal space physics because of the air bubble, the gravity plane, and the air bubbles that they carry with them. Like by having a gravity plane that that dissects your ship, you can do cool things like have sharks jump into your wake and ride inside of your gravity field, kind of like how dolphins chase boats through the ocean. There's various fantasy creatures that can do similar by slipping into your gravity plane and just basically piggybacking on your ship. You can also do that with fighter craft. If this like in that illustration I showed, if this fighter craft were to drop inside of the gravity field of this night spider, that night spider can just tow it with zero weight, as though as though it were part of the ship. It just drags it along because it's so small that it can just bob inside of your gravity plane as you move. Yeah, so just fun physics stuff like that. But once you know how those things work, the DM can forget about the rules and just has a means of having a theater of the mind, a narrative about how ships are interacting and moving with each other. And since you know all the basic mechanics of it, you can choose, just like with normal D&D, whether you want to depict this stuff as theater of the mind, or if you actually want to have it sitting on a battle on a battle map. Like, you might not feel there's much value at the there's no reason to have a 5-foot map if you're not if you're not trying to board a ship and they're not trying to board you. You don't need to have a 50-foot scale if you're intending on staying at least 500 or maybe even 600 feet away. 1,000 or even like 3,000 feet away from your target and just using ranged combat. You don't need the 50-foot or the 5-foot scale. But if you do, you know how it works. And if you prefer to theater of the mind it to keep it fast and loose, you can. We talk about that inside the book. So we provide a lot of basic physics with visual aids to grok how these ships can interact and how characters can also interact with them at different scales. And once you just get all that, it just kind of melts away. So I haven't seen anybody deal with a scaling system. Like there's differences between approaching and opening distance between objects that are moving is different from objects that are stationary. That is just having some general guidelines about how those things can interact inside of a 5e game space, the basic physics of it. That alone adds a lot of value to whatever spacefaring game you may have. There's a lot of people that are messing around with like Pathfinder 2, and there's a lot of different Kickstarter things that are coming out playing with the idea of vehicles, but no one is really addressing this sense of almost infinite scale of 1,000 miles per square. So I feel like I'm bringing added value to the community as a whole. And even though it's framed initially here as Spelljammer, when I start moving into my own game space with Kickstarters and stuff, I will most likely be doing some sort of a Magitech flight, spacefaring or like Aether Drift campaign. I don't know. I'm still playing with the narrative, but I have a lot of stuff that I want to put out on Kickstarter that involves scale, sense of proportion, not only for your maps, but also for like the perspective that you have about how your like that Dominion idea of guilds and kingdoms and stuff is also a large mechanic that I enjoy creating as well. I'm neglecting text. Let's see what the audience at home has to say. Caleb, sup? Don't run 5e, but I should also I should draw all the art of the book I released yesterday, but I just wanted it to release. I know how you feel, my man. I was doing commissions for other people. I'm only just breaking even 24. My lord, my man. Yeah, this is these books that I create like this. They are massive loss leaders to a larger scheme or campaign dream of running Kickstarters. I want to eventually graduate out of DMsGuild and other captured marketplaces into Kickstarter, but so the artwork and the development and stuff I do here on stream is kind of like low-key marketing of the kind of ideas that I have, and me making all the books I create free previews on the DMsGuild allows somebody to see the kind of work and how my work has evolved over time as a sort of proof of concept of where, like, if I start doing Kickstarters, like, this is the level of quality that you can expect for the Kickstarters that I create. And so I'll eventually be able to move out of this space into a bigger, better realm where I can get folks helping me pay for things up front. So then when I jump on stream, I'm jumping on stream specifically for the people that are already backers of the project. So that, like, when you drop in the chat here, depending on what your tier level is, we can have people have art director access to like help call the shots on what kind of creatures and objects and ships and scenery are being portrayed here, since we're just making it all live here anyway. and having a live playtest on my Patreon for, you know, Kickstarter supporters and stuff like that. That's kind of the big brain idea, but it takes. I don't have much of an audience. I'm only now just actually starting to like look at my Patreon as like a destination website for stock art, and I don't even have like an e-newsletter up. So all that stuff is going to take time for me to evolve into. But you know, this is when the muse is saying, hey, you can start thinking about that stuff. I'm like, are you sure? She's like, yeah, you should start thinking about this. You're getting there. So I think by the time I'm supposed to be there, she's going to open up pathways for me to be successful at it, just like a muse is supposed to do. And of course, the muse is what I refer to when I'm talking about my intuitive whispers about what I should do next, or the thing that pilots my hand when I completely zone out and have no idea what we're talking about while I paint. A lot of times, it's there's a term that you can look up and see artists using on YouTube called autonomic. Autonomic basically means that you can fall asleep at the wheel and still do the job, because your reflexes have developed to a point where, like, I don't think about making a tree. I just put in like AI. I put in the prompt, make me a tree, and then I render it. But I don't really often think about the steps that go into rendering what that is. It just the program just executes the command. And so that means that a lot of the times when I'm painting, I'm witnessing what is happening just like you are. Like, I really don't know what this sheen reflection is going to look like. I just got a ping from my muse to go over and grab this color reference and start adding in these sheen, this highlight here. Like, I didn't plan on this. It's just what the muse queued up for me to do next. And my job is to shut up, well, mentally shut up. And a good way for me to shut up my mind is to ramble, which is why I ramble so much. Because it's an active process of me having like a physical meditation where my thoughts are being occupied by the word salad that I'm kicking out, and basically observing that as well as we go. But the goal there, again, is to get the muse to disengage me from the art, like stop observing, like stop taking action. Like if you try to shoot, like Morpheus famously said to Neo, stop trying to hit me and hit me. The moment you stop thinking about what it is that you do, your body knows what it needs to do based on the experience that it's had. And what it does might be the wrong thing to do, but that's just a matter of how much training have you put into your body, knowing reflexively what it needs to actually do. So once you figure out that process and you put in your as Maximum Gladwell would say, put in your 10,000 hours of effort, your body just sort of knows what it's supposed to do. Like professional football, like professional quarterbacks don't think about throwing the ball. They just see there's an open target there, but they've already thrown it. Because by the time their brain catches up with there's a target over there, their body has already taken the necessary actions to hit the mark at the timing that they realized that they could have. Martial arts is like that a lot too. Which is why they call it a martial art instead of something else, because it's literally allowing the body to make the decisions for the performer. Whether it's an actual art, martial art, or it's a martial art. There are those differences. Hey, what's up? Never thought about it like that. Thanks. Sometimes I'll draw like 4 a.m. and it's like my body just does. You know what I'm talking about. It takes effort and time for the body to be able to build that confidence that it can just reflexively build things. And that's, I was talking about this about AI recently. I don't remember exactly which streams, so go back and watch them all. But yeah, we were talking about how AI and instant gratification of the social media culture, how it's poisoned young or modern artists to seek the satisfaction of art from like buttons and people, upvoting you on Reddit. That's the satisfaction that they know from artwork, which is why AI feels like a solution to so many people, because it's instant gratification. And a lot of these people just post the AI art for the the kudos, like, hey, look at you, you found a good prompt. That's a great looking piece of art. They are second-handedly receiving a compliment off of work that they're incapable of producing themselves, because of the level of the now indisputable level of quality that AI is capable of producing. That same level of quality in a well-rendered illustration may take me 20 hours to produce. But they can get it with the click of a button. But it's losing that discovery of like when you're capable of producing that type of art, you are a master at art. And that's not to say that I'm a master of art, because, you know, modesty applies. But I'm at least within ballpark to understand what these things are, and how they, you know, and how they affect. I'm gonna cut that out and take that down here into the back leg area. Thank you. Now I can pull that through. But if you're just pressing a button to get your art and you're good pat on the head, good boy, you're never going to build the endurance that you need to be able to identify and overcome a problem, which is all illustration is. It is a problem-solving process of, I am imagining this thing, how do I accurately render it onto a 2D surface for an illustration so that you can grok what I'm dreaming of. And like these AI programs, they'll never do that for you, because they create their idea, their translation of what your prompts are, which is your description of the dream that you have. And since you have no control over the illustration, you can't tilt her head 6 degrees, because it'll give her just that little extra sense of melancholy that you're really hoping to get out of the emotion of the piece. No, you're going to take whatever it is that Midjourney gives to you, which is why so many content creators are okay with using AI, because they have no control over the image as it is already. If they're already hiring artists to translate their vision as an art director of what it is that they see, they already don't have any control. Why wouldn't they turn to AI that can convert the cost to zero and give them a better level of quality that they would get elsewhere, considering they have no control anyway? But a lot of artists, they want to stay on top of what their actual own production is, because they have the precision of being able to execute what it is. And like I use my own art, my own stock art, in my own books all the time, because it's art that I know what it's attempting to accomplish. So, yeah, there's those different needs and those different levels of priority for what it is that you're doing, why are you doing it, and what's the end goal that you're looking to accomplish. But from an artistic perspective, the being able to produce these pieces yourself creates a level of awareness in your own work, and how the visual medium is going to best complement the work that you produce. And like in your example, like you were talking earlier, Cad, you want to do all the art, but if there's stock art that's hitting the note that you need, and it's not costing you any time then it's not costing you any money as a final product. So there's a lot of balancing that needs to be done there. Like I said, I use my own stock art. I stubbornly only use my own stock art, and that may change in the future. But every time I decide to do all my own artwork myself, it creates a larger volume, a larger library that I can go in and extract pieces to further complement, just to have more stuff that I can use directly for myself. So I'm kind of rambling a little bit, but that's but rambling is what I've been talking about, so I think that's kind of appropriate. So I'm going to integrate all this highlighting into the legs, and this is going to get integrated into the hole here. Oops, not like that. Not like that. Too late. Twitch. There. Next thing I need to do is illustrate. Thralls, crew, weapon crew, and decals, and then this particular craft should be done. Sup? Yeah, I don't condone AI in the least bit. and pay. Fair enough. But I see no problem using AI for things like concepting for the artist. Yeah, absolutely. AI is evil camp. Yeah, it's a tool. It is a tool, and it's a new tool. So as humans, of course, we're abusing it. We learn what's acceptable by doing things that are unacceptable and feeling the consequences of that action and recognizing I don't want to do that anymore. So we're going through the growing pains of having new technology available to a very immature species. So why do I feel like there's something going on here? Yeah, nothing selected. Okay, cool. Where I'm supposed to be at right now with this is... where are the weapons? Where are all the weapons? They're on the hull. Perfect. Okay, so this is where we can be. So let's just drop in a little meeple. So here's the thing. These spider craft are controlled by Neogi. Neogi don't have emotions, and they enslave other species with mind control, so they become basically mindless thralls. So even though the fight is over here, and this guy could get shot in the head with a ballista bolt, his command is to his ongoing mental command is to man your station. So if the ship comes around, he'll be able to point and fire the weapon. Of course, with the Spelljammer rules that are established in 5e, you don't have to worry about specifically which direction your ship is facing to be able to fire a weapon. But the narrative of this mounted harpoon flinger here kind of indicates that the ship has to be turned around and it's a rear gun. I don't have a problem with weapons having specific positions. Not everything needs to be like on a fully automated strut cannon rotate turret, to be able to do what it does. The ship just kind of, you don't worry about specifically how your feet are sitting in Dungeons and Dragons melee combat. You just know that you swing your magic sword and you deal the damage. And now when do I get to attack again? Okay, I'll be on my cell phone. Like that's how D&D generally works. You don't worry about angles and stances and stuff. So I really think it was. I like how trite and loose the rules of 5e are, because then you can make all sorts of fun variant rules that spoof and kind of riff off of how light and loose the system is. So I don't have to worry about facing. I don't have to worry about a cover. Like logically, if my ship is underneath this ship, I can't shoot the guys that are on deck, because the ship itself provides full cover for the targets that are on the top side. It's like D&D 5e ground that stuff away. It's like, no, you can just freely spin your ship around. You can just reorient yourself. So it has like this gyroscopic sort of navigation control where everything has hover. Like the way that the rules are written with 5e, all ships have hover. And it's funny. It's not that you ignore and change the rules of Spelljammer 5e. It's that there are so little rules about 5e that you aren't breaking the rules with anything that you're doing in this book. It's just that there's no rules to break. And what little rules they have is like, yeah, don't worry about facing. Don't worry about turn radius. Don't worry about your ship providing cover for things on the ship itself. Well, since you don't have to worry about that, having some very light, simple rules about it becomes compliant with the lack of rules that exist. The deeper into the rule set, the more rules that a system has, the more you have to pay attention to whether the mechanics or variant options that you're providing are ruining the game as intended. Since they intended to not have any rules, any additional rules that you implement are only complementary to the system that exists and provides more context for how the rules that they do provide actually work. Like the only rule we actually change is how large your air bubble is around your ship. We made the air bubble just large enough to fill like this 40 foot spider The size of the air envelope is going to be the 40-foot space. It's a 40-foot diameter air bubble that would surround the spiderling ship. It's the air bubble represents as a visual element, like here, I'll show you again. I'll just peel open that document real quick to make the point. When we look at this document here, you can see that all these ships have these air bubbles around them. This is a 5x5 space that this occupies, just like a horse occupies a 10-foot space in D&D. But it's a square. A horse is only like 3 feet wide and 7 feet long, but it occupies a 2x2 space, because that takes things like if the horse turns and stuff, it can turn around inside of that 10-foot space. If it goes down a 5-foot tunnel, it's squeezing. So squeezing mechanics apply just as much to ships as they do to creatures. Even though a creature occupies a 10-foot space, it can squeeze down or have orientation and stuff like that just as much too. But the rules of D&D has everything occupying a square space. So having a 250-foot long hammerhead ship here, it's also occupying this 250-foot space that is easily represented as a air bubble around your ship. And in D&D, circles are squares. So even though this is only partially occupying that square, it's considered to be filling the entire 5x5 square. So that's the language that we use inside of the game. Even though the aesthetics of it are a sphere, in canon 5e Spelljammer, like this bubble would go like all the way, like it would technically go all the way out to here, and it would go out to here. So it would timer. So it would be this oblong, like egg shape that's elongated, but that doesn't use the mechanics of 5e combat as written in the player's handbook and the DMG. The smallest mechanic, the least relevant mechanic in the game is the size of the air bubble as depicted by Spelljammer. They didn't make that rule because it's smart. They made that rule because that's what they did back in 2e, and all they did was cut and paste they literally cut and paste the diagrams of how ships work. So instead of spending an hour of brain power to decide should this be an egg shape or should it be a sphere to use the same language, no, the more we use combat language, the more they're going to ask for combat. So let's just cut and paste the shit from 2nd edition and move on. We don't want to actually invest any budget in this anyway. I can pretty much guarantee you that is the thought process that went behind what are we going to do for D&D. Like, we need less because we don't have any designers. We don't have designers that can do space combat. We've fired all of our really good folks, and we hired a new, well, I mean, not to insult the new blood that's now at the place, but none of these people that, I mean, other than Jerry Crawford and Tim Cook maybe, and like very few of the people that were here in 3E were still here designing books. A lot of them moved on to other companies because of what they were able to accomplish with 3E. So like I'm going to criticize Wizards of the Coast now, so hold on tight. I don't think they know what the hell they're doing anymore. I don't know. I think Mike Merles is still there, and I think they keep him in a box someplace that they like sequester for information occasionally. But it doesn't feel the same anymore. It just, like back in the days of 3E, they would have a whole book just about, like they had the miniatures, the miniatures handbook. It was a 200-page document about how to use miniatures in mass combat using 3E rules. It was horrible, but it was thorough, and it provided character options and all that stuff, yada yada. Like it was like 4 times the depth of what the Spelljammer book was in 5e. Like 5e's philosophy isn't so much make the game light and easy to use. It's more like don't put out any effort into things that you don't need to put out effort for, because it's just going to cost us more money. Framed around the motif of this is your game, you can make the rules whatever you want, which is why there's no rules about DMing in the DM's guide, because they aren't teaching rules equal rulings. They aren't teaching basic physics. They aren't teaching options. They're teaching how to avoid options and have what we've presented fold into the game that you're already playing. And that's a pretty harsh criticism backed by almost nothing. But it's my opinion. It's what they've demonstrated to me, how they're designing, how they're building games, what their goals are. They're showing us what their goals are. Maximize profit, minimize effort. And it doesn't work for role-playing games. You need rulings to be able to have rules. So that's me ranting. Let's see. Weapons are there. So this guy goes in front, that guy goes there. And now we're down. I've been neglecting our conversation here, so let me catch up. So yeah. 5e has okay bones, not as smooth or streamlined as some systems, but fairly easy to get into. WotC has just futzed up what should have remained pure gold. Yeah, it really is. They lost. Yeah, how do you say? Yeah, they lost the plot. But that's what corporations do. The corporations are like bumbling children. They use a toy until they break it, and the way that they use a toy is by extracting profit from it, until they killed the reason why people were willing to spend money on it in the first place. It's that whole corporations are parasites idea, or maybe rather, capitalism as a structure is a parasitic thought on an otherwise peaceful humanity. That's a bunch of word salad. Take that to the bank. Let's see. We got this here. Got that there. We got that as coloration. Okay, so this is the crew. I have to open up the size of this so I can see what's, so we got a crewman here. We've got weapons here. We got a crewman behind that. I think I need to put my crewman in front. So let's do that. There, and then we got guy here. I do this with a lot of my illustrations that I'll just do basic, even like with portraits and stuff. I'll do minimal silhouettes, and then I'll color in within the lines to because if the silhouette reads well, then you're pretty safe to proceed with the rest of the image. Because yeah, if your silhouette is strong, then that means that you've captured the flavor of whatever it is that you're working on. So I actually probably want to put this dude behind all that stuff. There we go. And I'll have to have another guy that's in front of it, like over here or something. I love all the worlds that TSR created, and it's that love for the IP that keeps pulling me back in. Not only like the Spelljammer and the Planescape and the Hollow World. These are real Dark Sun. These are all just amazing settings, and I want to produce content for that. I don't want to create a fantasy spacefaring game to build content for. I wanted to make Spelljammer, which is why this isn't a Kickstarter. It's a DMsGuild product, regardless of how much gold it may be. I'm inspired by Spelljammer, so I want to make Spelljammer. So I want to publish it where Spelljammer content is. If I didn't care about the different worlds, I'd be able to just walk away from the IP and do my own thing. But like, I'm in love with Magic the Gathering. I love the color mana system, so I made 200 pages worth of content about color mana systems. And of course, that has to go on. It either has to go on Patreon as a fan content piece, or it goes on DMsGuild as a marketplace. So in that idea, I can at least evolve the I can put the core mechanic books of that stuff on DMsGuild, and then continue to produce more content about it on my Patreon separately, but still be able to refer back to like the core rules that I made. That's a thing that can be done, but that doesn't make me a shitload of money, Like I am taking a loss on every book that I create for the DMsGuild because of the amount of effort I put into the artwork and the amount of time that it takes, and the attention to detail and the thoroughness of the mechanics and all the play testing that goes along with it. Like all that shit takes an incredible amount of time, which is money. That's me burning my life away to make sure a book works that may or may not be profitable. But I love the IP, and I have such a hard time just giving that up. So I have to burn out all of my excitement and enthusiasm for the different settings that exist inside the TSR library and Magic the Gathering for me to move away to even consider like building my own thing, because I'm just going to be thinking about, man, I can do this cool Dimir thing. And now I'm making a book of Dimir, and that's going to either have to be on my Patreon or it's going to have to be on the DMsGuild, otherwise no one's ever going to see it. Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, ramble. There are some that, let's see, we'll never touch again, that I'm kind of sad about, like Dark. Yeah, oh my god. Al-Qadim was pretty cool. I did not like the Djinn feature that, like, if you want to spell, it's going to take you anywhere from like 2 rounds, like a round to have your Djinn go fetch it from the ether, to 3 days to get a 9th level spell or whatever. I like the idea that they were going for there. I just didn't like the execution of it. I think with 5, I honestly think the 5e mechanics would really complement that style. Like, you take a short rest. When the short rest is done, your Djinn has fetched your spell for you. You can now add it to your spell list for the day. Like, I think that has a place in the game. But I'm going to merge all these dudes down because I can. But yeah, those silhouettes are good, and they're the proper size. So, bully. Let's just grab some rando clothing color. And oh yeah, we got these guys. So maybe we'll grab some color palette here. So the first thing we do is we add in the skin tone. And we can disintegrate it a little bit, fade it out some. I spy with my eye something that is text. Let's get rid of this. It was yeah. Yeah, well, 2E was Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, just like Beckme, was really just a cacophony of different mechanics that didn't have. That's the strength of D20 games. The original 3E engine that so many different things have kind of built up on top of since 2000 is that TSR would just whatever the rules are, we don't care. D6, D8, D20 percentile dice. Flipping cards, whatever. There was so many different subsystems that didn't have any coherent design goals other than what's a cool way we can do this. I think a lot of times they're like, what's a way we could do this that we've never done before to see if we think it's cool or not. Like a lot of experimentation stuff going on, and so nothing felt like it was part of the same system. These guys are such just like little mannequin stand-ins. But this is yeah, I think as we go along here, I grind more and more detail into a piece, which is a risk that you have when you do projects like this. Like once I start getting a bead on how to make things, I start finding ways to make them better or more detail. What I need to do is stay at the same level of quality, but find ways to increase the efficiency of creating them. Like find a quality cap, and don't exceed that quality cap, but instead speed up the process of succeeding with that level of quality, which is going to eventually be something I learn how to do, but have in no way mastered it yet. Let's grab this here and just put these guys in tater sacks, basically. That was a lot of its charm. That, you know, it could be anything. Like you have no idea what the mechanics are going to be. Some of them work better than others. I think this is the same color I just pulled. Oh well, whatever. I really honestly don't care. But then, you know, the strength of 5e is the unifying system that it presents, and as such, I think it would be great to see a lot of those older settings updated to 5e mechanics, just because of how differently the game is expressed between like the D20 system, regardless if it's 3 or 5e, how differently it expresses mechanics from 1e and 2e. But yeah, and like Dark Sun, man, I love Dark Sun. Dark Sun is such a fucking awesome campaign setting. I spent years inside Dark Sun. It was fun. I was playing Dark Sun when it first came out, like in I want to say 92, 93. And the last time I played Dark Sun was a 6th level. Well, I ran it, of course. I don't play D&D. I'm a forever DM. So, but I ran a game at 6th level using 5e mechanics. It was I don't remember what the setting style is called, but basically there was a Tarrasque that got downed, and its regeneration was so much that they could just carve pieces off of it for food infinitely. So it was a resource center. Chip off a bone for building material, it'll grow that bone back. It has hyper regeneration. It's the fucking Tarrasque. So the idea is you fell it, you keep it down. They have these half giant cleaver teams that all they had were giant executioner axes, and their job all day was to keep severing the spinal cord of the of the Tarrasque underneath the brain, so that as it kept healing it, they could, if they kept up momentum, they could keep it from rising up, because it was permanently paralyzed and effectively dead. But it kept coming back. And then there was random mutation tables that we used off. We took the Maze Rat book, or I took the Maze Rats role-playing game. And it's got just these D6 tables of random effects, like magic effects or conditional effects. And hold on, I'm hunting down this little mark over here. There's a little stray nib of color over here, and I need to find where it came from. And it came from there. There it is. Get rid of that. So every day there'd be a random mutation, and it would either create like antibodies that would create like vermin or oozes that the team would have to fight, or like a new magical property would be discovered, like somewhere deep inside the intestines of the creature. So we had like this life force bio dungeon space that the team would have to hack their way into, and then crawl through and fight all the antibiotics and the autonomic defenses inside this 50 by 70 by 50 dungeon structure that is the Tarrasque's body. And occasionally, like, it would grow a new brain someplace else to react to the cleaver team. So it would start like one of its legs would start jerking, because it would start training a new brain to be able to rise up and overcome the cleaver team that was inside of it. So you had to find the brain and carve that out. That lasted like maybe 20 sessions. It was pretty fucking fun. But that's the kind of that's Dark Sun, man. Like stuff like that is just feels very Dark Sun to me. So that was a lot of fun to build out. But I'm going to open this up and add a new layer. I want to do some more lighting in here. If a viewer were to check back maybe 5 sessions ago, they'd see me building this ship and this ship, which is the same ship as this ship. But it took me like this ship that we're building here. This took about half. That took about half the time of building this one. This one took about half the time of building this one. So by the time, if I have to keep building these spiderling ships, I should be able to crack out one of these probably like in 4 hours in the future. It's just I think I'm pretty much at the end of actually needing to build these craft. So I think that's the funny thing about art in a themed book like this is become a master of that content, and then you'll never need that content again. So you have to wait for the next project to come around to refresh oh yeah, I know how to do these things. But my confidence in creating siege weapons and ships is, I've never created ships and stuff like that at this level of detail, which was one of the things that was so exciting about taking on this project in the first place, was me gaining proficiency in building these fantasy craft as vehicles to be able to kick around in, because that's relevant to my long-term goals and my purposes. There's that. Now we're gonna start doing decals. So we have this one, like if we check out this here, we have these little, like here's a double door that opens into a large size space. You could store an Umber Hulk in there if you needed to, and when you fly across the deck of a ship, you just open up your back doors and you just dump the Umber Hulk out, and it starts mesmerizing your team's crew so they can't fire their weapon anymore. These spiderlings can not only attack, but their main purpose is to get on your ship and start dumping Umber Hulks that are just little. They're just these large sized tanks that basically hypnotize anybody that looks at them. So you dump this brawling monster onto the deck of your ship. All the crew looks at it. They're mesmerized. Now you can't command your crew to fire weapons anymore. A lot of times Theurgy can conquer a ship by only having to take out the pilot. So it's pretty easy for them to be able to do that. They grab a ship, they grab the pilot, they're good to go. I actually need to reduce the lighting on those highlights down to 75. It's too bright. It's still too bright. It looks like I gotta take it down to 50. Yeah, that feels better. Let's go to our back leg. To get it down to 50. There we go. That feels better now. Cool. Drop down to there, and that's right. We're on these spotlights now. Less. Cat, it's good having you hanging out, man. this sitting? Back here. Yeah, that's how it sits. No, yeah, I don't expect you to respond to anything. I like thinking about this stream as being a study hall, where you know, if I'm ranting about something that's of interest, then awesome. But otherwise, my fits of silence. I like the music. Thanks for the playlists that you shared. I believe I've plucked a couple Dark Synth off of it and added it to my current playlist. It's funny. The longer I use Epidemic, the more I explore the library, the more I recognize songs that are hanging out in the background of other streamers. It's like, oh yeah, I recognize that song. I love that song. Like I hear this one's called Floating Leaf. I hear this one not infrequently in various discourse channels that are like talking about a subject, but not a live camera, like just playing footage in the background. A lot of times I'll hear this song. Like Endymion uses this song all the time. Skill shot. A bit bigger. Blah, 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 bigger. That. I keep telling myself someday I'm just going to do pen and ink or just like grayscale or monochrome art, like a more sketchbook style. I can crack through sketches like fucking crazy, and it would completely collapse the time frame for me doing art. Like this book would have been published months ago if I was just content with line art or like loose inks or sketches. But I feel like I'd be selling, like I'd be left alone. I'd leave myself feeling like I could have done more. It could have been better. It could have been more, and so I can't let go of it. It's a fucking problem. having a massive production load like this for one person. It's just, it's mind-numbing. I don't know how I'm ever going to get myself out of doing full color work like this. Like, it's such a joy and privilege for me to be able to even paint like this at all, that I don't want to just give it up because it's inconvenient. Like, the whole point was for me to be able to create color art in the first place, and I don't want to give that up. But the production time is insane. Which honestly is one of the reasons why I want to get into Kickstarters in the first place, is because if people want to back the project because they believe in the project and they don't mind that it takes so long, then instead of me logging in and creating art with guilt that I haven't finished it yet, I'd be able to convert that into pride that I'm providing the best product that I can for people that have already invested in the value that they see in the work that I do. So I mean, again, it kind of feeds back into it. Like, if I put in the work and demonstrate it how it's supposed to be now, then there's more likely that I'll be able to get people to buy in on it in the future. But it's all speculative and hope right now. There is no success. There's only the hope for success in the future. And that is, it's a huge leap of faith, man. There, that feels pretty good. Take that, go to here. Blend that in a bit. How are we on time? 7:30. Holy crap, that's great. We're doing great. We got another 20 some odd minutes here, kids. Blah, blah, blah. I spy with my eye something that doesn't belong. Coupling. There it is. I tell you, half the work is just labeling your folders. So you don't lose track of where the hell you are. So funny. Let's see, whole over here. Cool. we go. Just about there. Yeah, it feels pretty good. Cool. Okay, great. So that thing is, well, there it is. So let's fold all this up. We'll put a new thing here. Let's, I need to go find a bubble. Let's go to 50-foot scale. Let's peel open the hammer ship. See if this works out. It's not going to work out. What I need to do instead is grab the lighter version of that. Hold on. I'm grabbing a color reference here, and I'm going to grab it like that. It's a 400 pixel brush. We need to drop that down probably to 375. Nope, we do need 400. Make sure that bubble sits all around it. Push it back up to full. Back it down a little bit. Just make sure that's fitting inside. Everything fits inside. Looks like it all fits inside. Perfect. $15, and then we can duplicate this. Let's take it down to 10. So we'll make the sheen on the air bubble. Drop that down to about 50%. I'm gonna take this back bubble. We'll push it down to 5. There, nice. Now there's an air bubble, but it doesn't get in the way of any of the language. Just like you can see, like there's the hint of an air bubble here. It can be very non-intrusive having these bubbles present, but it's fun having the bubbles present because they create they help inform things like the light source. For instance, we have a common right stage right main light coming through here that we can use with the with the air bubble. Fun. And then we get to do cool subtle things like take these asteroids here. Let's conceal our reference. It's like we have these stray asteroids that are wandering out of the illustration into the page. Front asteroid. Time. 7:40. Okay, we got exactly 20 minutes left. But now these asteroids can float in front of the air bubble. So even though it's super subtle at this point, it would still create a very minor blue sheen on it. So by adjusting the layer there, we are this one. Yeah, this one needs to be behind. Because you can see that sheen flowing across there, which means that this asteroid is further behind the craft, which you're already getting from the legs, but now the bubble is reinforcing where this ship is in relation to the team. You got these asteroids that are actually creating a little bit of a... I need to... There. Get them in front of everything. There. That feels pretty good. Nice. Illustration. There. Okay, cool. So we completed that piece. That's good enough. Completed that for now. And so next... Okay, so obviously the asteroids still need work. But that's the kind of thing that... futzing around on the texture of asteroids is the kind of thing that I do when I'm listening to like a Magic the Gathering Let's Play, or like Bandits Keep talking about Beckney stuff, like Beckney Berserker, or Hex Press, or Ketup talking about page layout and stuff. Like some stuff I don't need to do on screen. So we already used the asteroids as a warm-up. So where we're at right now in the piece is... So I guess the question is, do we actually need / want the Night Spider back here in the illustration? I want to say the answer is yes. But I'm not necessarily sure. All right, let's go back. Let's get back to basics here, since we're looking at design. We're going to block. I'm gonna block this in again. Here, 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 here. That's our basic composition. Rule of thirds breaks the piece roughly like that. Let's be a little bit more nitpicky, like that and that. That's our thirds. So here's a third, 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 here's a third. The rule of thirds says when you frame your composition like this, your hot spots are going to be where these thirds intercept. So here's a hot spot, here's a hot spot, here's a hot spot, and here's a hot spot. Those are our four main, basically our four main points of focus inside of the composition. So we've got a lot going on here with the crew loading, and so that's our main point. It's forward facing, it's the foreground. This is going to be our main point of concentration that we need to pay attention to for narrative. We have the spiderling right off of the background center mark, point of interest. So that tells us that we should probably adjust the spiderling up a touch so it gets us a little bit more in range, which means we can take these front asteroids and pull them in a bit as well, like that. That's our piece there, which means that we probably also want to have the night spider getting closer to on point here as well. Oh yeah, this actually is the right position for it. Because through the center point here, we have these two bugs connecting through that center point. So that should be pretty good. And if I have more atmospheric disturbance on this one than this one, that should help imply distance. I also need to make sure that I move these asteroids to the proper position. So they remain complementary to the process. There. God, that's so good. So this arrow is pointing at the night spider. That's really fun narrative right there. So I'm gonna up this a little bit. Fucking nice. The actual weapon is pointing at the immediate threat, but the loading, the future actions are pointing at the night spider, which is this is a scene from the Light of Xeraxis that we built, an encounter that we built to help highlight maneuvering through asteroids, vessel versus craft combat, and weapon crews. So those are the three functions that this encounter serves for us in demonstrating the mechanics that we have in the Light of Xeraxis adventure. And so these little, there's actually more than one of these little firecrafts, but they work like hunting wolves for their master, which is the night spider vessel in the background. So I'm really happy with that setup. That's actually pretty. That feels like pretty good composition design. I'm happy with that. I could also potentially have like another spiderling like here or here maybe. Yeah, if I had a spiderling inside of here, God, that'd be just nasty sick. Let's just bullshit this real quick here, make a duplicate. And done. Take that there. I'll have to change the position. It'll be a much simpler design. But I think having a little secondary wolf in here would kind of legit loving this idea. Yeah, and this guy's pointing right at the larger threat. I need to spruce up this ballista, give it a little bit more detail and some more architecture. Probably bend in this is curving a little bit too far over, like that. This needs to shore up and flatten with the same plane here. It's a little off kilter. I love that. That is so fun. All right. We're going to do that. And where are we at? 750? Okay. I think this is, in the words of Van Gogh, when you want to keep going, that's when you should stop. Because that's going to motivate us to get back in the saddle again tomorrow morning. So we've finished our lead Spiderling Fightercraft here. And we are going to... Oops. Get you back. Get back, Loretta. Yeah, and that means we can make this Night Spider a little... Nice. It's a hell of a threat for 5th level characters, man. Team gets chewed up on it. I mean, if you can get a good beat on these fightercraft, you can knock them down pretty easily, disable them. They just kind of like float off and thump up against a rock and then dispose of their, dump out their team. Get scooped up later on, fix the ship. But, yeah, this feels right. This feels very right. Okay, so when we come back tomorrow... we're going to take care of the Night Spider and then the secondary Spiderling. And then we're going to focus on building out the crew. I'll take care of the rest of the asteroids off screen during my own normal YouTube consumption time. I anticipate this being done maybe on Tuesday. And then we'll start in on the next piece. So... that's it. We're done for the day. Thanks a lot, man. Ked, thanks for hanging out, dude. I will see everyone on the other side. Again, we're trying to get to 500 subscribers, so if you thought any of this stuff was cool, consider liking, subscribing, hitting the bell icon to get notifications. We're here 6 days a week. We're going to do this tomorrow morning, Saturday morning. I won't be here Saturday morning because I'm going to be at a ToolCon. I'll be in Tacoma being hung over in a hotel room after seeing Tool. So tomorrow we'll be here in the morning. I'll be off on Saturday. Yeah, so anyway, I'll see you guys on the other side. Thanks a lot for being here, blah, 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 and laters.